For most of us, it's the semis, but I've seen a few of y'all where you're actually in your championship week here. So going to be very important to get this regardless. It's win or go home time. Tier 1 doesn't really matter. CMC, Tyreek, Lamb, White, Cook, Taylor, St. Brown, Diggs. All of these players are must-start guys. Doesn't matter the matchup. It doesn't matter your team. They are in your lineup. Yeah, Diggs hasn't been great over the past few. He is in your lineup. Yeah, Taylor's been injured. He is in your lineup. Yeah, Tyreek's maybe banged up, tough man. He's in your lineup. You can make an argument on how you rank these players, but you start them regardless, so I don't want to waste your time with them. Now, Tier 2, we'll lead off with Jahmyr Gibbs. Gibbs, I still don't want to rank as that Tier 1 player. He is extremely efficient when it's coming to a per-touch perspective, both with the touchdown rate as well as his yards per touch. He's running behind one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. A great offense, great matchup going up against Minnesota. You have a 25-point implied team total for Jahmyr Gibbs. No hesitation, you can start him. Justin Jefferson will be in this same game. While I understand that Jordan Addison's a guy that had all the production last week, Justin Jefferson had the volume. Addison only had 6 targets. I am more than confident in going through and ranking Jefferson as the wide receiver 1 here. Then we will be going with Mike Evans, Michael Pittman as our next 2 guys. It's going to be for a full PPR format where we're a little more apt to go with the wide receivers. And really, you have no hesitation. I understand that Pittman did have the concussion. It's a little bit of an annoyance. But at the end of the day, he's had consistent target volume. And he did practice in full both on Wednesday and Thursday. So I am operating under the assumption that Michael Pittman's going to play. Now, maybe I'm a little bit too high with the Colts guys here. I will admit to y'all, I have a Best Ball Mania team that advanced that has both Jonathan Taylor as well as Michael Pittman Jr. So I'm a little bit biased and I very much am just rooting for these Colts players to dominate this week. Our next 2 guys, we're going to be going Travis Etienne and Tony Pollard. Pollard, tough matchup against Miami. Etienne is a tough rank because we are unsure if you're going to have Trevor Lawrence or not. Now, of course, if we knew for sure that Trevor Lawrence is going to play, then at that point, maybe we can confidently say, yeah, it makes sense for us to go out there and it makes sense for us to, I don't know. I mean, maybe rank Travis Etienne as the Tier 1 option. I just don't know if he's going to play or not, so we'll put him Tier 2 for now. Now, dropping down to our next tier, we're going to go Mostert as well as Achane back-to-back. Last week, wasn't really excited to play Devon Achane. This week, going to be a little bit of a different story, however. I mean, now he should be healthy. I understand he did miss practice earlier in the week. His practice report on Friday is going to matter a ton, but assuming that Achane is healthier than he was a week ago, which I think we can assume, I think that he is much closer to what you have with Raheem Mostert, and obviously one of the best offenses in the NFL. Now, going over to our next guy, we are going to be looking at Rashee Rice. With Rice, this is a wide receiver that is now seeing over 95% of the snaps in KC. He's been extremely efficient all year from a per snap perspective. Really, the only thing is you are needing to see more involvement overall, which he has now, and you'd be excited. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk will be our next 2 guys at 18 and 19. Most weeks, Deebo Samuel will be higher than this in our rankings. He has had like 7 touchdowns over the past 3 weeks, though. This is probably going to come back down to earth just a bit. And also, they're going up against one of the best defenses in the NFL against the Baltimore Ravens. Typically, we're used to seeing about a 31-point implied team total for the Niners. However, this week, it's going to be at about 26 points going up against Baltimore. It just is really tough. Now, our next guy will be DJ Moore. With DJ Moore, beautiful matchup going up against the Cards. Usually, you're used to seeing the Chicago Bears hovering around a 20-point implied team total. This week, they're up at a 24.5 point total. So you actually are much more excited about this offense overall. And I actually ranked Justin Fields as our quarterback 4 in our rankings this week, just based off what Las Vegas sportsbooks are telling us. Now, dropping down to our next tier, here's where I probably have to put the caveat. Don't listen to me. I've been high on Bijan Robinson all season, and I've been wrong all season. I'm a former Texas Longhorn, Hogan Morans. I interviewed the guy at the draft. We ran into him in Austin. So, of course, there's nobody I'm rooting for more other than the players on my own fantasy teams. But then Bijan Robinson this season. He's looked bad. Arthur Smith has been wildly inconsistent with his usage. Tyler Algier, Cordell Patterson are both getting involved. So, I mean, at this point, if you wanted to go out there and bench Bijan, I am not going to fault you at all. Now, I'm an idiot, so I will rank him here, but you should not listen to me. Now, our next guys will be David Montgomery, Breece Hall, Josh Jacobs. Montgomery is falling in these rankings as Jahmyr Gibbs continues to cement himself as a running back that will have a role inside the 5-yard line. It's not like they get to the goal line and they take David Montgomery out and they go, Jahmyr Gibbs, you are for sure our goal line back. But it's not like how it was at the beginning of the season. It's not like they get down on the 3-yard line and then they're saying, okay, Gibbs, got to come out of the game. We got to get David in there. No, I mean, if Gibbs is in, they're going to keep him in, and Gibbs has been effective in that role. So it's not like David Montgomery is going to be the only running back in Detroit scoring touchdowns. Breece Hall, I understand it's been a very bad offense. However, it's a great matchup going up against Washington. Usually, you're used to seeing the New York Jets hover around a 14, 15 point implied team total at the very bottom of the NFL. Well, now they're actually projecting out to be a middle-of-the-road offense this week, according to Vegas sportsbooks, because they are going up against the worst defense in the NFL in Washington. Josh Jacobs will be that next guy, 24. Jacobs, whatever matchup against KC. Now, this will be something we need to continue to monitor, however, because if you are looking at him, he missed practice on Wednesday and Thursday. They are currently saying that he's going to play on Monday, but I really do want to see Josh Jacobs practice on Friday if we are going to consistently rely upon him. We'll go Garrett Wilson at 25, 20.5 point implied team total. As we mentioned, this Jets offense should be much better this week than what we're used to. And we know Wilson's going to get consistent target volume. And then Kenneth Walker will be our last guy. Walker looked phenomenal this past week. And it looks like Geno Smith most likely will be back under center for the Seattle Seahawks. Or at least that's what I'm hoping happens. I have a team that really needs Geno Smith to do well on Underdog this week. But nonetheless, going up against the Tennessee Titans, it's not necessarily the best matchup you could look for, but it is something that we can go for. Now, so we move down to our next here. I want to remind y'all, for Sunday night, you can get a free Russell Wilson special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard on Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. Plus, with promo code FLOCK, you're going to be getting a 100% deposit match, our rest of season rankings, and for Christmas Day, they have a LeBron James special pick'em on top of the Russell Wilson one. That's going to be more than less than the half a point for everybody on the app. So yeah, if you're new, you're going to get the Russ and LeBron special pick'ems with code FLOCK. But even if you've been on the app for years with code FLOCK, you're still going to get that LeBron one. Now, leading off this tier, we are going to go Jalen Waddle at 27. Obviously, Waddle phenomenal last week, and it was kind of obvious. I mean, yeah, no Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle, must-start player. But I'm assuming that Tyreek is going to be playing this week, going back to that $25 Best Ball Mania team we have. For the love of God, I need Tyreek Hill playing. I need Tyreek Hill to have a big game. But even if Tyreek's out there, should be a very high-scoring game. Should be the highest-scoring game of the week between the Dolphins, Cowboys. Devontae Adams will be our next guy at 28. With Adams, if you look at the Underdog pick'ems, they have him over 70.5 receiving yards. So they actually have Adams in a range where you would start him over someone like Jalen Waddle. I don't know. I mean, just a 15.5 point implied team total. I'm not super excited about him. Now, going over to our next few names, we're going to be looking at running backs. We're going to go DeAndre Swift, Joe Mixon, Isaiah Pacheco, and Saquon Barkley. If you're looking at Swift, he has been disappointing, but he has the best matchup this week against the Giants compared to what he's seen over the past month. Joe Mixon is in an offense that's been somewhat functional, but now you lose Jamar Chase on top of the loss of Burrow, so it should be much harder to view the Bengals offense as average to above average. It's going to be a train wreck. Then Isaiah Pacheco, I mean, doesn't seem to be fully healthy, but it sounds like he will be good to go this next week. And with Saquon Barkley, really tough matchup, horrendous offense. The usage is trending in the wrong direction. Now he has Saquon, right? So I still want to rank him in a range where you are going to start the guy, but just have dramatically lower expectations than you previously would. Ezekiel Elliott will be the last guy in this tier. With Zeke, obviously, if Ramondre plays, you have no interest, but if Ramondre were to miss, then I think he's still probably a running back that's going to get every single touch in his backfield. It just will continue to be one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Now, our next tier will be led off with DK Metcalf. With Metcalf, you have a 22-point implied team total going up against Tennessee. You have the ceiling, but Jackson Smith-Njigba is now coming on. So I am a little bit interested to see if JSN's going to be, again, to have more targets in this offense and finally take over as the pseudo wide. I'm really excited for JSN. Devonta Smith will be our next guy at 36. With Smith, they're really not going to have to throw the ball with aggression in the second half going up against the Giants. And Dallas Goedert has taken considerable target volume when he is healthy into the game, which he is this week. Amari Cooper will be our next guy at 37. With Amari, you have no CJ Stroud, so I'm assuming that this should be a game where Cleveland may be able to run the ball in the second half. It's going to be a lower scoring contest overall, but there's been more than enough passing volume to go around with Joe Flacco under center. Then we'll be going Austin Eckler at 38. Based off what you had with the usage last week, based off how bad this offense is, I completely understand someone wanting to say, Mason, I have no interest in Austin Eckler. This guy's for sure on my bench. I get where you'd be coming from, but the thing is with the changing coaching staff, you may see the new guys coming in saying, okay, well, let's reevaluate this roster. And from an objective perspective, Austin Eckler is the best offensive weapon that we have. Let's get the ball in his hands as many times as we possibly can. Eckler is playing for a contract, so it's not like his season is completely worthless at this point. So, I mean, you may see Austin Eckler actually go out there and have a much larger role this week than he did last week. But it's a tough matchup going up against Buffalo and one of the worst offenses in the NFL. James Conner will be our next guy at 39. Decent matchup going up against Chicago. And was fine against the Niners last week. Higgins will be our next player at 40. With Higgins, I mean, I understand you have no Jamar Chase, right? If we were to have Burrow at quarterback and no Jamar Chase, then T. Higgins in these rankings probably would be up there alongside Mike Evans and Michael Pittman. But that's not the case. When you have no Burrow, I do expect this to be a below average offense, so we want to be a little more hesitant when we rank Higgins. Devin Singletary will be our next guy at 41. Singletary has the guaranteed volume, but it's a tough matchup going up against Cleveland. And at the same time, it looks like you're in a spot where you are going to have no CJ Stroud this week. So it's a bad offense and a tough matchup. I don't necessarily think that Devin Singletary is a phenomenal talent. So I'm not super excited to go out there and start Singletary. Now our next tier will be led off with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's going up against Seattle. This is a running back that is the definition of hot and cold at this point. Will Levis is injured. We don't know if Will Levis will be good to go. He hasn't really practiced this week. I'm assuming you don't have Levis. Ty Chandler will be your next guy. Chandler, decent matchup going up against Detroit. We are assuming that you have no Alexander Madison. Once Madison is officially out, however, you could move Ty Chandler up these rankings a bit if you would like. DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley will be our next two wide receivers. These are guys where we just have no idea what their quarterback play is going to be like, right? We don't know if Levis is going to go. We don't know if Lawrence is going to go. If Lawrence does play, Calvin Ridley would move to the top of this tier. We're going to go Javonte Williams at 46. Tougher matchup going up against the Pats. Should be one of the lowest scoring games in the NFL. We'll throw Cortland Sutton in here as well. You'd have about a 20-point implied team total here for the Denver Broncos. Just Javonte looked horrible last week. We'll go Zay Flowers at 48, who's had consistent target volume with no Mark Andrews in this offense. It's just a very tough matchup going up against the Niners. We'll go Nico Collins at 49. With Nico Collins, obviously, if CJ Stroud were to play, he is going to be significantly higher than this in these rankings. If Nico Collins was fully healthy and CJ Stroud was fully healthy and you had a decent matchup, you could move Nico Collins up in that tier with Mostert, Achane, Rice. He could be sitting here at 15 in these rankings. The issue is there's just so many question marks in this situation. It's very difficult to rank him there for now. Our next guy, not really a practice. We don't know if he'll be good to go. Probably not at this point. Jaden Reed. With Reed, you have no Watson. You probably have no Reed either. Probably not excited to start either one if they are good to go. So really, with the uncertainty around Reed, we should have Godwin, JSN, London, Terry all a little bit higher. I know it seems like we're extremely low on these players, having them down here at 51 through 54. I really just wanted to put them in this ranking so we could get a PSA out there that yes, some of these secondary wide receivers came out and dominated last week. But you naturally have wide receiver volatility. Someone like JSN, someone like Terry McLaurin, you should be expecting a significant step back this week. In the case of McLaurin, it's a brutal matchup going up against the Jets. In the case of JSN, we have not had the consistent target volume, which is why I'm still easily going to prefer DK. Then we'll go Aaron Jones, Chuba Hubbard, back-to-back at the very bottom. With Chuba, looks to be a 3-down back, but also at the same time, looks to be in one of the worst offenses in the NFL. And with Aaron Jones, I mean, A.J. Dillon may play. The thing is, it's a great matchup going up against the Carolina Panthers, where we have seen running backs just be able to print points in fantasy. But I think that's all I have for y'all with this video. If you enjoyed it, please go down there, hit that like button. Like I said, if y'all wanted to check out that Russell Wilson special pick'em for Sunday, you can find that link in the description or the comment section for Underdog Fantasy. Promo code FLOCK is going to give that Russell Wilson special pick'em plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings, a 100% deposit match, and a LeBron James special pick'em on Christmas, more than less than half a point on top of that. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day, and really hope we get to see you out with the live stream later tonight.